Hello Steelers, and welcome to this video in which I am showing you my adventures in airbrushing. As you may know, I bought an airbrush earlier this year in 2021, just after Christmas, and I've been trying to use it and try out different methods of using it and just basically learning how to get to grips with the tool itself. Now, there's various different methods that you can use airbrushes for, and in this particular video I'm going to be talking about colour modulation and how I used it to paint this farm, which is going to feature in probably my short practice games, but could be used for anything up to 20th century easily. Now, I'd already rendered this, and as you can see, I've actually primed it already in grey. I rendered it with a watered down polyfiller and basically just slapped it on around the details. This is from Sarissa, by the way. And then I wanted it to be painted in a whitish colour, so it's been plastered and painted white, and that's basically what I'm using the airbrush for in this particular situation. But also along with that, I just wanted to be able to modulate the colours. Now, this is something that armoured vehicle modelers use when you've got big large flat panels, such as this back end of the house itself. And this is basically to make parts of it look slightly lighter than others, and you can use an airbrush in this manner for this. So I wanted it kind of faded out a little bit just on the edges. So I was giving it a single coat over, and you can see I've just gone around the edges there, just very lightly, just to be able to give it a slight difference in the actual colour itself. And I went then back in and I started to fill in the centre area of it as well. And once I'd done this bit, I just wanted to work a little bit heavier in this central area by pressing down a bit further on the trigger itself and just trying to give it, like I said, just like this slight feathered edge out towards the edge of the building itself. Whether I've actually achieved that or not, I'm not entirely sure, because as I said, this was the very first time I'd done this, and this is before I'd weathered the thing anyway, but it was just something I wanted to try out, and something I wanted to try out on a building like this. I think if you've got a new tool, you might as well use it, and you might as well use it to its full capacity. I don't just want to use this just to undercoat figures, because otherwise, you know, I've basically spent £100 on something I can do with a brush. So this, as I say, absolute experiment, and really I suppose it's up to you to see what you think, how it turned out. The large side flat panels on this building make it ideal really for this kind of experimentation, and so I went to took the top area and the upper floor, should I say, and basically did the same again. So I did quite a light outer line of airbrushing on the outside. You can see some of the grey slightly showing through. This is kind of what I really wanted, just to make it look as though some of the paint has faded on the edges, and also just to give it that just slight almost texture through the paint itself. And I just went in the centre a little bit heavier, and you can kind of see there where it's slightly patchy towards the edges, but a bit thicker on the interior, and I think I managed to get it pretty well on that. The next thing to tackle was the roof, and I was basing this little farmhouse on the painting of the Prussians attacking at Plan-sur-Nord. So he wanted a bluish roof with these tiles. The tiles were separate, they came again from Sarissa. I bought extras just to add on to the roof to make them look a little nicer than the ones that were originally part of the kit, which were just flat MDF. So I painted this in a very light blue tile colour, similar to, as I say, the painting that I was taking this image from, and just basically gave this again another light overcolour of the grey primer that I'd already used on the roof. I then lightened the bluish grey that I was using with a little bit of white, just mixed a tiny bit in just to take a little bit of the edge off it, and then use this again to try to do a little bit of zenithal spraying, which is basically you spray from above down onto the top of your model, so you're just really catching the edges. This, unfortunately for me, didn't really work. I thought it was a little bit too subtle. You can't see a great deal on this, but it was worthwhile trying anyway. I was just trying to pick out those highlights of the edges of the tile ridges. This is something that I'm going to need to do more work on as I go, but you know, as I say, this is absolutely an experiment on my part, and it was just really just to see what I could actually do with the airbrush itself anyway. Always remember, you can all quite easily just respray these things. So instead what I did was really just give it a bit of a haphazard spray over the top just to bring out a couple of the tiles here and there. You can see, so I kind of zigzagged up and down the tiles just to break up that shape once more of the flat blue roof that it already was. I'm not going to talk too much here about the weathering and the things I did, but this is how it turned out at the end. And if you look at the roof there, you can actually see there is quite a little bit of subtle change and shade on those roof tiles, which is exactly what I was really going for. And also on the edges as well, you can just kind of see that towards the edge of the flat areas and the surfaces, it does kind of feather out a little bit again, which is kind of what I was going for. I know some of this is masked a little bit by the washes that I've used for the weathering on this. A very dirty old house, it needs a good clean, but I was quite chuffed with how that turned out. And as I say, the very first experiment that I tried with the airbrushing for this technique. So if I can do it, so can you. I think, you know, there's no point having something if you're not going to try it, and if you're not going to just try to push your own skills and abilities as well with things, and just try these things out and see what works for you and what doesn't. Well, thanks for watching this video. I'm going to continue putting up some more videos about airbrushing as I work more towards learning how to use it. If you've liked it, please do give me a like, leave me a comment. Also subscribe if you haven't, and look out for more of these in the future. Thanks for watching.